In most democracies around the world, it's pretty standard for governments to have a big say in appointing top judges. But in India, well, the story is dramatically different. The Supreme Court there has a power that's almost unheard of anywhere else, the power to appoint its own members.
It's an age-old question, right? But in India, it's not just a philosophical one. It has a very specific, very real answer. To really understand how the judiciary protects its independence, we have to look at how it answered this exact question for itself. Who gets to decide who sits on the bench?
Okay, so before we jump into the how, we really need to get the why. Why is the independence of the judiciary such a huge deal? Well, because it's the absolute foundation of any functioning democracy. It's the ultimate check on power.
So what are we even talking about when we say judicial independence? It's actually pretty simple. It's the idea that judges should be able to make their rulings based purely on facts and the law, without any fear or favor. They have to be totally shielded from pressure, whether it's from the government, big corporations, or any other powerful group.
And this matters so much. Think about it. An independent judiciary is the last line of defense for a citizen's rights. It's what makes sure that everybody, and I mean everybody, including the government itself, has to follow the law. It's basically the firewall against tyranny, protecting the core values that make a democracy what it is. The stakes are incredibly high.
So, to protect this crucial independence, the Indian Supreme Court did something pretty extraordinary. It basically engineered a system to take control of its own destiny, and the story of how that power shift happened is key to understanding the court today.
You see, while the Indian Constitution talks about a separation of powers, it left the specifics of how judges are appointed a little fuzzy. And that ambiguity? It sparked decades of tension, a real constitutional tug-of-war between the government, which wanted more control, and the judiciary, which was fighting for its life, for its independence.
This whole conflict came to a head in a series of landmark court cases that completely rewrote the rules. At first, back in 1981, the government got the final say. But then, a massive reversal in 1993. The court declared its own authority and created a brand new system out of thin air, the collegium. And just 5 years later, in '98, they expanded it, cementing the judiciary's control over its own appointments once and for all.
So this system created by the court itself is called the collegium. But how does it actually work? How does this small group of top judges decide who gets to join their exclusive club?
Now this is the most important thing to remember. You can search the Indian Constitution cover to cover and you will not find the word collegium. It's a system born entirely out of judicial interpretation. It was created by judges for the appointment of judges. And that's what makes it so unique and, as we're about to see, so controversial. So who's actually in it? Well, for appointments to the Supreme Court is the Chief Justice of India plus the 4 most senior judges. For the state-level high courts, the group is a bit smaller, the Chief Justice and the 2 most senior judges. It's basically a committee of the most experienced judicial minds in the entire country.
And the process itself? Wow, it really lays bare who holds the power. The collegium recommends a name, the government can do its background checks, and, this is crucial, it can send a name back and ask them to reconsider, but only once. If the collegium sends that same name back a second time, the government's hands are tied. It must approve the appointment. The judiciary has the final word. End of story.
But here's the rub. This very unique system, which was designed to protect independence, creates this fundamental tension. By building walls to keep outside influence out, has the judiciary also walled itself off from any kind of accountability? This is the core of the whole debate.
So what we have is a major trade-off. On one hand, the system acts like a fortress, protecting judges from political games. But the problem is, this fortress doesn't have any windows. The whole process is internal, it's secret, and that leads to a lot of criticism that it's not transparent and there's no public oversight. So in solving one problem, it might have created a whole new one.
And the criticisms are pretty specific and they just don't go away. People call the process opaque. There are no formal public rules for who gets picked, which naturally leads to accusations of favoritism, judges appointing judges based on who they know. And without any outside input, the system can sometimes grind to a halt, leading to long delays and a lot of empty seats on the bench.
So, what are we supposed to make of all this? We're left with a system that is both incredibly powerful and also constantly under a microscope. It's a true paradox, sitting right at the very heart of the Indian justice system.
But the outcome of this whole unique setup is undeniable.
Because of its power to appoint itself and other protections in the Constitution, the Indian judiciary has built a level of independence and authority that is respected, and let's be honest, sometimes envied, all around the world.
And let's just be crystal clear. It all comes back to that one central point. The power to control who becomes a judge, to control its own makeup, is the ultimate source of the Indian judiciary's incredible strength. It's a feature that really truly sets it apart from almost every other major democracy on the planet. Which leaves us with a final, really challenging question. You have a system that works in secret, all in the name of guaranteeing public fairness. Is this a paradox we just have to accept to keep the judiciary safe from politics? Or is the lack of transparency a fatal flaw that actually undermines the very justice it's trying to protect? That is the question at the center of this entire ongoing debate.